Hi guys, it's Emily from Novelle Novels and welcome to today's video. This is my October wrap-up part 2. And what a month it's been. If you would have seen my gratitude journal, you would have seen it's been one hell of a month. It's been, like, to wrap this up, just to give you a bit of a life summary. I don't want this video to be ridiculously long on my hairs and my face, but there you go. It's been one hell of a month, between the highs of getting my knee sorted with the device getting sorted, to the lows of the anniversary of my dad's death, my mum breaking her hip, just the weather. It's just been one hell of a month. You would have thought those two sort of things, and obviously having half term, and half term being the week that everything was going crazy. My hormones are going crazy, I'm just getting older, I'm finding the perimenopause is hitting me big time, so my emotions are literally all over the place. And I think that has affected my reading, it really has, because for the first month in I don't know how long, I've got so many 3-star books and I'm not connecting with my books. I've found, don't get me wrong, Victober-wise, I had a couple of successes, but I think those were more at the start of the month when things were a bit better. But the second half of the month, I've really struggled. Like, I've really struggled with my reading. I can't focus. I'm just really struggling. So I think that's what's affected my stats. I am filming this on the 31st because tomorrow, hopefully, I would have been, this would have happened before this goes live, but I would have gone 10 with Chris and hopefully had a bit of downtime and cheered myself up, because yeah, I'm not my normal woo self this month. But I'm wearing my new jumper. I'm wearing my Halloweeny green and black jumper. Thought Mia wanted me to go Halloweeny today, so I'm gonna look at the positives. I think I'm starting the month with some good books, so I'm just gonna think about that. But yeah, here's the stats, and stats will be for the next 2 or 3 minutes. And if you want to skip ahead, I need to work out how to do those timestamp things that my sister does and a lot of you do, because I'm not any good at that. And that way you could just sort of skip ahead. Maybe if you see me holding up a book, you'll know that I'm doing it. You know what I mean. Anyway, so here's the stats. I read a total of 34 books. All of them were off my unread TBR, because the one that was a reread was a new, the 2 sort of rereads I've had were with my own new physical copies. So they're either been from the fact they were library books or something else. Previously I've read them as audio books, or previously I've read other copies. So yeah, so that meant, thank God, because I got 34 books and I only unhauled one book off my unread shelf. So I've gone from 302 books on my unread TBR for the start of October to 321. Yet again, it's gone down by 1, but again, do you know what? I got myself to where I wanted to be. I was originally going to think, oh, I can get down to 300. And I think maybe next year I might try and get down to 300, get my unread TBR down to 300. But again, right now, I'm having to read what suits. I'm having to mood read a lot more, because otherwise I just don't want my unread TBR to be, I don't want to be reading books just because I think I've got to read them. I don't want to be reading books off my shelves because they've been on there too long. Yes, going forward, hopefully next year I'm going to be doing a thing where I do a jar of my oldest books on my TBR, and I'll pick one of those a month. But the whole reason I like having a library, and I'm not going to beat myself up about that, and I am starting to listen to Alice a bit and listen to a few of my other booktube friends and reading books as soon as I buy them, because obviously you would have seen my November TBR that I'm reading a lot of newer books. In December I will be already reading 2 books that I would have bought in October. So I'm trying to read books that I buy a bit quicker, because that's the best thing about having a library. You can read whatever you want, and I'm buying books to read them, so why make them wait? So that's going forward something I'm going to be doing a bit more of. So now to the genres. I only read 1 fantasy, and I think that's something that's had another part of why my stats haven't been great. I've read 3 non-fiction. Possibly not picked the best non-fictions this month, so hopefully going forward next month I will be a bit better, because next month is non-fiction November, and I haven't gone deliberately into this because I'm trying to be gentle on myself after October, but hopefully I'll pick some good non-fiction books. I read 7 classics. that was a go-to. It was Victober. I was going to go for it. Hell and leather. And then to the historical fiction and contemporary, I've read both of them. I've read 11. I think I've read 11 because my stats aren't kind of adding up like the way I thought they would. I don't know why. When I add up all these numbers, I don't think it's adding up to 34 books, so I don't know where I've missed one or whether it's just my brain is not with it this month. I honestly don't know. So here's to the books that I've read in the second half of the month. I'll show you and I'll tell you the stat. Actually, I'll go through the numbers first and then I'll do it. So I read 3 unrated books. I think that's purely, again, my mental health. 8 3-star books, which in comparison to last month, I didn't add them up. That was helpful last month. I didn't add up my 3 stars, but it's a lot more. 8 3 stars is a lot more than other months. I know it is definitely more than October, definitely more than September, and definitely, let's have a look. It's way more than August. Like August is so much higher. Like, yeah. And then I read 1 3.5-star book, which I think is similar. I read 12 4-star books, which I think is alright. It's not like massive. But this is where the numbers go down, is that I've read 3 4.5 stars, which is a lot lower than normal, and only read 7 5 stars. Again, this could be to the fact that I am reading, yeah, that number of 5 stars is certainly lower than September. It's lower than other months. Because, yeah, it's only a little bit lower, but it is lower because I think partly that I'm being fussy on my 5 stars, and partly that I've just not been in the right headspace for books this month. I've not really been enjoying my books anywhere near as much. So yes, I've read a lot, but I've not enjoyed them as much. So that's a bit meh, but going forward, I will hopefully get a better month. Hopefully November and December will be a bit cheery up. Let's just get mum better and get myself sorted, and I'll be hopefully feeling a bit better. But let's go forward. Anyway, let me show you the books. I don't want this video to be too long, so I won't go into too much detail about the books. But please, if you want to know more, let me know in the comments down below, because obviously I will talk about them. I will be able to talk about them more. And right now I've just suddenly remembered I need to think of an icon, emoji for the end of the book. Okay, so here we go. So the first book I didn't rate was Dr. Walter's School by Anthony Trollope. That was for one of the prompts in the Booktober, and I should have written down what it was for. It was my extra book, but I think it was for the one that, I can't remember. And I don't think I read this when at the right place, so I'm going to put it back on my shelves. I didn't rate it because I don't even remember it. I think I have a habit when I'm not in the right headspace of skim reading if I'm not connecting with the book. Should I, when I'm skim reading, just DNF? Please let me know down below, because I don't even remember a single thing of this book. I really don't remember it. Apparently, it's a subversive book, and Dr. Walter's School is a wide-ranging condemnation of group morals, collective prejudice, and devastating power convention. And I don't remember any of it. I don't know what I was doing when I was reading this, because I do not remember a single thing. I'm really sorry. So I will take that up there and reread it. So the next one that is I don't rate it's Kathy Glass's book, Run Mummy Run. It's not actually based on one of her foster care books. It's actually a non-fiction. I think it's a novel based on a true story. And this broke me to pieces because it's about domestic abuse. It's got a lot of triggers and it killed me. I really shouldn't have probably read this month, because it was one of the last ones I read and it literally shattered me to pieces. And yeah, that's going bye-bye. I can't read that. I should not have tried to read that. I'm so sorry. To my 3 stars, and these were a mixed bag. These were okay. These weren't amazing. Some of them I remember more. Some of them I remember least. But yeah, I'll tell you. So the first 3-star is actually Deerbrook by Harriet Martineau. And Harriet Martineau was actually a friend of Charlotte Bronte. So I wanted to like this. Yeah, it was just, I don't remember a single thing. It's a book that size and I really don't remember much about it. I remember it's got a family, it's about a family. I remember it's got about distant cousins from Birmingham Hester and Margaret Ibbotson, recently orphaned, their arrival causes sensation in the small world of Deerbrook. The 21-year-old Hester has a gift of great beauty and a terrible fault of jealousy, whereas Margaret, a year her junior, is her inferior in looks, though vastly superior in sweetness and intelligence. Yeah, I like those. There was a character called Emily in it. I remember that. I remember some things. It's about, yeah, as we watch the two sisters fall in love with the two most eligible men in Deerbrook. The romance side was good. It was all right. This was actually all right. And I remember bits of it, but I don't remember loads of it. But I don't even remember enough to want to keep it. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not going to keep that one. Now to a book. This is actually a new release. And this is Celia Imrie's Orphans of the Storm. This is about Titanic. And what happened, obviously, in the Titanic a little bit. But it's also, again, it's like, it was all right. I remember bits of it. And I think it was all right. It was like, but it didn't, like, kind of, obviously the Titanic stuff always kills me because of what happened on the Titanic. And this is about, like, it's got two sort of separate storylines. Nice in France in 1911, and it's the young seamstress, Marcella Nevertelli, decides to divorce her cruel husband. So we've got a little bit of that. Most of it's about that. It's not really as much about the Titanic, in my honest opinion. And then Michael steals her kids. And that sort of obviously had a big part in it. And then you've got, meanwhile, New York socialite Margaret Hayes is touring Europe. Restless, she resolves to head home above the Titanic. And as the ship sets sails, the paths of Marcella, Michael and Margaret cross, and nothing will ever be the same again. This was okay, but not enough for me to want to reread it. I'm just trying to think what I'm going to do with the books I'm going to keep, actually, because I don't have many of those. And then we've got Carrie Hope's Fletcher's book, In the Time We Lost. I keep marking books out halfway through. I'm really enjoying doing that, actually. How many times would you fall in love? And this is, Luna doesn't want pity. She wants a fresh start. How can she make headway on her next novel, mend her broken heart, and most importantly, keep herself to herself? For that, Luna needs the most remote places. Oh, God, this is literally like, oh, God, that book where it's like Groundhog Day over and over again. And I just didn't connect with it. I've tried reading Carrie Hope Fletcher's books. I want to like them. I don't particularly love them. They're okay, but the Groundhog Day element did my flipping nut. You were like, come on, when are you going to get to them? When are you going to get out of the loop? When are you going to realise you're in the loop? It was okay, but not like, it was my pinky book and it was just not great. Then to a book again I wanted to like, because I love Miranda Hart. I loved her in Called the Midwife. And my cat's going crazy over there. But this was okay. It's a bit of a funny story. Is it just me? Like, she's like in her 30s in this, and she's like having a world with her 18-year-old self and her dear reader. It's non-fiction. It's okay. Why is it last time I had the kids making a noise, now I've got sweep? It's okay. I'll give it back to the charity shop though. Then to the next book that was okay. Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. I've tried to read Sally Rooney. She is not for me. Why did I want to buy this full price? Thank God my boss at Bow's Books told me not to. Bought this for about £1. No bloody speech marks. I hate that. Too millennial, too young, not for me. Loads of sex, loads. I do not want to sit here about 20-year-olds banging their flipping heads out. Although I've got a couple of romances that I've read that have got saucy scenes in them. This was just not for me. About Alice, the novelist, who meets Felix, who walks her in a warehouse and asks him if he'd like to travel to Rome with her. In Dublin, her best friend Eileen is getting over a breakup and slips back to flirting with Simon, a man she's known since childhood. Romances, millennial. Yeah, okay. It's okay. Could have read it quickly. Do I remember much of it? No. Was it really that much for me? No. It's an okay 3-star. Probably the lower end of 3 stars. Now to where the book's got a little bit better. 3.5 stars. The Petot Men. Why have... I'm going to upload these living. Thank God for post-it notes. Right, okay. So this is based on a real life story. And there's a true life story in this is heartbreaking. Because we all know that back in the Victorian times, there was a lot of men dressing up as ladies, which was fine. And I personally think, you know, good, that should have been done more. But back then, they flipping the prejudice that happened. I'm not qualified to make judgments, but obviously to this, it was hard, like, to read some of the things that happened to these people. But to young, right, the Victorian gossip mongers called them the Petticoat Men, but to young Mattie Stacey, they are Freddie and Ernest, her gentlemen lodgers. She doesn't care if they dress up as gown to attend society ball, as Fanny and Stella. She only cares that they're kind to her and make her laugh and pay the rent on time. And these seem really lovely. And then one fateful night, Fanny and Stella are arrested, and Mattie, outraged, is dragged into a shocking court trial, hailed in the newspapers all over England as the scandal of the century. So if it was just that storyline, it would have rated higher. But we had a lot about the Victorian about Queen Victoria's family and her children, and more about her eldest son and that sort of side of it. And we also had about William Gladstone, who was the Prime Minister at the time. So we had lots of other storylines that interlinked, and I kind of got a bit lost. If it was just on the Petticoat Men, I probably would have liked it a lot more. It was okay, but I think if it could have just stuck to the one story, I would have probably enjoyed it more. Now to a book that I was reading as my ad PR product that I was reading for a tandem read along. This is Normal Women by Philippa Gregory. This is very, very, very good. I'm going to be putting this somewhere on my shelf, and I want my daughter to read this because it's about normal women from what was known as the Dark Ages through to current times, and this has examples of all the amazing things women did. Yes, I'm only rating it 4 stars because there is a lot in it, but by no means is it a bad book. It's blooming brilliant, and I'm so grateful to the guys at Tandem for giving me this, for sending me this to read and review, because women are so egocentric. We had such an important part in history, yet how often is it only the males in that? But I don't want to, again, although I'm pro-feminist, I don't want to discriminate against men either, because that, in my opinion, is discriminatory to, I can't even think, won't get my words out. So I think this is so important, but we need to remember that equality is key of all genders, all denominations. But one of the things I love about this is it does talk about a lot about how women love women and things like that, and it does how that panned all the way over history, and how it wasn't judged. Like, it was really, like, there was so much more positivity about that, and I think that was something of history we really grew. There was a lot of good words, that women had such a key part in our history, and it wasn't just the kings, the queens, and the aristocracy. Women were inventors, we were doctors, we were everything. We had such key parts in all the ages of history, and I found this fascinating, and I learnt so much from this, and I know Mia's not interested in it now, but it's one book I want to go back to, and I think she'll find this so important in her history, and I would love to show her so much about that. So that was positive, and we're already on 18 minutes, and I'm only now on my 5 stars, so yeah, 4 stars. The next one was a 4-star that I read, Two Sisters, World War II, and it's most of it is set in the island of Jersey, and how the Channel Islands were really affected by World War II. And we all know that Germany basically took over the island, they dominated it, and this is about how two sisters had very different journeys in the war, very sad stories, and it is brilliant. It's based on the Lighthouse Sisters and about what was going on then, and a little bit of romance, but the sister bond. And I personally, although it's not said in the book, I do think there is autism rep in this, and you'll understand why if you read it. But it's not officially said as autism, but there is a rep in it, and I think that was done really well, so I did really enjoy that. But yeah, I'm not going to keep it. Erica James did not disappoint again, but flipping it, does she break me in this book. Tell It to the Skies. I thought Skies, possibly romance, Erica James. There are lots and lots of triggers. This is 4 stars because the writing is incredible, but there is a lot of triggers in this, and you need to be aware of that. And I mean, there is flip loads. So please do not go into this thinking this is light. This is very, very hard, and you really need to be aware. I won't say the triggers now because I know some people don't like that, but if you want to know them, please ask me in the comments down below and I will tell you. But yeah, this is very triggering but very well written, and about Lydia and her sisters who were sent to live with their grandparents they'd never met, and boy did things happen. And we start off in the present, which is in the Venice, and Lydia is glimpses her face that takes her back to England, back to her childhood, and back to a dreadful secret she had banished to the past. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant, but very hard. Oh God, I'm going to take loads of books to charity shops. The next one is Colleen Hoover. She never disappoints. 4 stars, but good 4 stars. I don't know why it's called Ugly Love, because there is never the word ugly used in a discriminative way to a person, but it's talking about love that has all the edges and all the... You're not meant to fall in love with this person. You're not meant to fall in love, but you do, and you can't help with who you fall in love with. And we all know that. And it's not exactly love at first sight for Tate Collins when she meets tormented and secretive Miles Archer. They wouldn't even go to consider themselves friends. The only thing they have is a mutual attraction. Lots and lots of sex. Lots and lots. But it's brilliantly written in, and it talks about that sex is more than just, yeah. It's not just sex, it's more than that. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good. And Kathy Kelly book that's been on my shelves for flipping forever. The House on Willow Street. This is probably the lower end of 4 stars because it was all right, but there's a lot of storylines, and I think, to me, the ending didn't loop it all together perfectly. And there was lots of characters. Tess, Suki, Mara Wilson, Aunt and Danae, and lots of different timelines, lots of different sort of storylines. Set in Ireland. It's a good book, good cosy contemporary, but a bit too much storylines and didn't wrap up perfectly. Then to the last book of the month, and my last 4 star, and that is A Family Secret by Kitty Neal. You need to read A Mother's Secret first to get this, because A Mother's Secret is the first one in the series. This is the second. I don't know if it's just a duology or if it is just going to be a series, but this is very good. But again, you've got some triggers in this, and it's World War II. You know people are going to die. You know there's going to be bombs throwing. You know you're going to have trauma. But I loved our lead character Winnie in this, and Winnie Berry is my favourite character in this, and you love her storylines. You love the World War. It's brilliantly written. Kitty Neal is a really good writer. She really smashed it with this. I really enjoyed it. But again, it's very hard. And it was a book I read in a day because I just didn't want to put it down. And so that's why that's probably top end of 4 stars, because to me, it was really good. Like, it was really gripping, and to the fact that I was late putting Mia to bed because I just didn't want to put it down. Then to a book that I wanted to be 5 stars, but again, it was my buddy read with Chatty from the Mad Chatter. And I think for me, the only reason it didn't get 5 stars was because I was reading it over the course of the month, and everything that happened at the second half of the month, I just couldn't concentrate. I don't remember everything. I need to reread this again when my head is in a better space, because my classic slump really affected this. So, but I did enjoy it. I did like rereading it, but I did, something I spoke to my sister Charlie from Charlie Brooke Reads was, I did not like Helen as much at the end of the book. I loved her at the start, I loved her passion, and then Gilbert's a bit of a twat, and yeah, it was okay, but I don't think it quite got the 5 star because my head is not in the right headspace. But I'm keeping it. It's keepy. Obviously got to keep it. It's a beautiful book. It is definitely a beautiful book, and one I will reread over and over again. It's one of the Brontes. Brontes to me. Smash it out of the park. Then to my 5 stars, and again, these are all good. I'm not going to tell you my favourite. I have got a favourite 5 star that's I'm going to say at the end my favourite 5 star of the month, my favourite Victober book, and my favourite non-Victober book. And believe it or not, it's not going to be the one you're going to expect. Yes, Demon Copperhead was 5 stars. It couldn't not. But I am sorry, Alice. You were saying, a lot of people have said it's like the best book of their year. It wasn't my best book. It's not good. I'm hoping it goes on my favourites for the year, but right now, I think my love of David Copperfield kind of knocked it. I'm sorry. David Copperfield, this is a retelling of David Copperfield, and I know it's won a million awards, and I really did enjoy it. It's 5 stars. It's a brilliant, brilliant book, but I prefer David Copperfield. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. You're all going to hate me. I'm so sorry. I'm going to reread it. I'm going to keep it. I really enjoy it. Bloody hate this paperback version. But I was just comparing it all the way. So, yes, it was 5 stars. Yes, it was a brilliant book. But I don't know if it will go on my favourites of the year so far. I really don't. I'm so sorry. It's a retelling. It's a modern retelling. There was drugs. There was all... But all I kept doing was comparing it to David Copperfield. And I probably need to read it with someone else. I probably need to do something else. Because, yeah, it's 5 stars. It's brilliant. It's still a brilliant, brilliant book. But you asked me to pick from the two. And I'm going to pick David Copperfield all the way. I'm sorry. But I'm going to keep it. I don't know where I'm going to put it yet, but I'm going to keep it. It is a good book. Then to a book that I read when I was feeling like shit. I read it this week and I was like, I needed a shorter book. I needed a book to give me hope when I felt like pants, because I have. And the Waffle Girls, my babes. I love the Waffle Girls. Sorry, Jem, I'm going to make you bomb, but love them so much. I just was drawn to read this again. And first time I read it, I listened to an audiobook. And I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it because it's 5 stars. Yes, it's a reread, but it gave me hope. It gave me hope that no matter what shittiness I'm feeling at the moment, there is light at the end. And I will see the light soon. And I will come out of this feeling that I am going through. But yeah, I love it. It's the only one of Matt Haig's books, apart from the comfort book, that I really enjoy, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. We all talk. It starts off so sad when this lady, the lead character in this, is trying to kill herself, and she thinks, and she goes to this midnight library, and she goes through all these ways her life could have gone, until she realises, yeah, things. She gets hope. She gets hope. And don't we all think about how our lives could have gone if we'd taken different directions? Do I wonder how my life would have gone if I hadn't been hit by a car? If I hadn't had the second DVD? If I hadn't have lost my second baby, like Bean? But then I wouldn't have got Thomas. But there are so many things in my life. Had I not made choices, I wonder what choices where I would have been now. But obviously, I'm grateful now for what I've got. I've got 2 gorgeous children. I've got, a house. I've got a job that I love. I've got a cat. I've got my voluntary job. I've got you lot. But yeah. When I feel like shit, this is actually a perfect book to read because it reminds me there is always hope. So maybe I think I've changed my mind about what my favourite book. Yeah, I've changed my mind. It's torn. I don't know if I'm in the right place to tell you your favourite book. And another one that's a surprise of the month. It's The Dead Romantics. It is 5 stars. This is the second saucy bloody romance. And oh my god. I thought the XX that I read at the start of the month with Kat from Brews and Reviews, I didn't expect that to be 5 stars. I was like, it's saucy romance, it's American, it's not like my kind of thing. Like, romance books do not get 5 stars. I am supposed to be a Christian, I'm not supposed to believe in ghosts and witches and all that lot. But why are they the books that have stood out to me and just made me happy and made me cry? And this made me flipping cry yesterday. It was one of the last books I've read of the month, and I am so glad I saved this because it was just what I flipping needed. Yes, we know that there is that Florence Day is she's a ghostwriter. We know she's going to fall in love with a ghost. We already know that. That's on the back. Not giving any spoilers. But she has to go back. Something happens, and she goes back to her family home, and she talks to ghosts. That's again something that's happened. And it's all stuff I don't believe in, but it doesn't stop me from loving it. And it doesn't stop me from loving the sister, the family element. It's got great representation in it from everything. I fell in love with this book. It was just what I sodding needed. And yeah, it was a bloody good book. Why did it make me cry? I don't know. I don't know why I love the saucy bits of it. There's stuff that is so unrealistic, but let me, it was just what I needed. And last but not least, it's The Sun Sister by Lucinda Riley. And I've just had to put my video back together because I've just had an alarm go off. I've not timed this right. It is the Electra story. It's the penultimate book in the Seven Sisters series if you don't count Parsalt's story. It's the last sister that we know of, Electra. It's the sister that you're not supposed to fall in love with, that you're not supposed to like. You're supposed to bloody hate her, but I hated her at the start, but her story was flipping brilliant, and it was going to be my favourite of the month until I realised that, yeah, let's be honest, that is. But, yeah. I loved the past storyline. I've already read it with Gaia. I thought it was one of reading quite a lot in one day, each day, and I flipping loved it. Yes, the past storyline took me a while to get into. Yes, at the start I hated Electra, I hated her with a passion, but once I got into it, oh, I didn't want to put it down. This series, I'm reading The Missing Sister with Gaia in December. I don't own Parcel's story, but I want to read it. So whether I do something which I don't normally do and borrow a book, just I think and read it, because I think I've got, my mum's got the copy and I think I really want to read it. I think I might borrow it from her and then buy it afterwards, because I don't, and I don't keep series very often, but this series is flipping incredible and I loved it. I loved it so much. And it's, the past storyline is set in Kenya and America. The present one's set in the UK, in America. Electra's story is heartbreaking. There is some real stuff that she goes through and some real stuff in the past storylines that really broke me. But it is flipping brilliant. It all ties together brilliantly. We get to see a couple of the other sisters in it and I loved it. I loved it so much. It was just what I needed. So yeah. Those are the books that I was reading. Yes, it could be either of these two, but The Midnight Library just kind of edges it again. It was a reread, but it was my first physical copy, so I'm keeping it. This is edging it as my favourite non-Victober book. My favourite Victober book, an easy one, is The Law and the Lady by Wilkie Collins. And yeah, how's your Victober been? Have you had any great one? Let me know down below. What's your favourite book of the month? I'd love to know. And if you got to the end of this video, because I'm filming this on Halloween, but I'm not going to do a Halloween emoji, I want you to do a moon emoji, because it's going to be dark and spooky and moony when we're doing trick-or-treating with the kids tonight. So do a moon emoji. So yeah, if you get to the end of this video, leave that in the comments down below. And take care, everyone. I hope you all had a good month, and thank you all for all your support. You're all amazing. Love you all. Bye-bye.